This video lesson is the first of a series of video lessons focused on the on excerpts taken from the novel Animal Farm, written by George Orwell and published in 1945. I will read portions of the excerpts and illustrate their meanings. Chapter 1. All the animals were now present, except Moses, the tame raven, who slept on a perch behind the back door. When Major saw that they had all made themselves comfortable and were waiting attentively, he cleared his throat and began. Comrades, I do not think, comrades, that I shall be with you for many months longer, and before I die, I feel it my duty to pass on to you such wisdom I have acquired. I have had a long life. I have had much time for thought as I lay alone in my stall, and I think I may say that I understand the nature of life on this earth as well as any animal now living. It is about this that I wish to speak to you. Now, comrades, what is the nature of this life of ours? Let us face it, our lives are miserable, laborious and short. We are born, we are given just so much food as will keep the breath in our bodies, and those of us who are capable of it are forced to work to the last atom of our strength, and the very instant that our usefulness has come to an end, we are slaughtered with hideous cruelty. No animal in England knows the meaning of happiness or leisure after he is a year old. No animal in England is free. The life of an animal is misery and slavery. That is the plain truth. In these brief few lines, the protagonist of them is Major. As we know, Animal Farm is a sort of animal fable in which the author, using metaphors, denounces the horrible regime that the Soviet Union had become. And to do so, he illustrates at first what are the hopes of the proletariat, or as we could better put it, the rural class of peasants, of farmers living in Russia before the Russian Revolution. In this case, Major, who is speaking to the crowd of animals that have gathered in front of him, represents Lenin, who gave a speech motivating the working class to uprise against the aristocrats who were exploiting them in the Russia of the Tsars, therefore prior to the Russian Revolution, which took place in 1915 in the midst of World War I. The comrades he is talking to are obviously the people belonging to the working class, to the proletariat, and to the rural class as well. And he explains clearly in what conditions they were living, transposing it into an English farm. Let's continue. But is this simply part of the order of nature? Is it because this land of ours is so poor that it cannot afford a decent life to those who dwell upon it? No, comrades, 1,000 times no. The soil of England is fertile, its climate good. It is capable of affording food in abundance to an enormously greater number of animals than now inhabit it. This single farm of ours would support a dozen horses, 20 cows, hundreds of sheep, and all of them living in a comfort and a dignity that are now almost beyond our imagining. Why then do we continue in this miserable condition? Because nearly the whole of the produce of our labor is stolen from us by human beings. Their comrades is the answer to all our problems. It is summed up in a single word: man. Man is the only real enemy we have. Remove man from the scene, and the root cause of hunger and overwork is abolished forever. Again, in this paragraph, man, who Orwell accuses of the misery and the exploitation of the animals, identifies in fact the aristocracy of the time, the aristocracy that in Russia exploited the rest of the population, having them overwork and die without enjoying any benefit from their labor, any satisfaction from their life. So, if the animals, metaphorically speaking, are supposed to symbolize, according to Orwell, the majority of the people living in Russia at the time that preceded the Russian Revolution, man represents the aristocracy. Man is the only creature that consumes without producing, yet he is lord of all the animals. He sets them to work, he gives back to them the bare minimum that will prevent them from starving, and the rest he keeps for himself. Hard labor tills the soil, hard dung fertilizes it, and yet there is not one of us that owns more than his bare skin. And even the miserable lives we lead are not allowed to reach their natural span. No animal escapes the cruel knife in the end. You, young porkers who are sitting in front of me, every one of you will scream your lives out at the block within a year. To that hour we must all come. The last paragraph of this chapter mentioned calls them to action. It is strongly felt. He says, "And remember, comrades, your resolution must never falter, no argument must lead you astray. Never listen when they tell you that man and the animals have a common interest, that the prosperity of one is the prosperity of the others. It is all lies. Man serves the interest of no creature except himself, and among us animals let there be perfect unity, perfect comradeship in the struggle. All men are enemies, all animals are comrades." Again, Orwell underlines the trick that the aristocracy often uses to divide the majority of the population, by saying that the prosperity of the one is the prosperity of the others, meaning that if the aristocracy prospers, then in turn that prosperity will trickle down and benefit the life of all. Major underlines that is false. They are all lies, because there cannot be any common interest shared between the aristocracy, or man in this case, and the rest of the animals or the rest of the people in reality. And he simplifies by saying all men are enemies, all animals are comrades. But he also strains the fact that in order for any rebellion to succeed, the animals, all of them together, must act in perfect unity and perfect comradeship. Only in that case will the struggle, the fight, be successful. Therefore, he emphasizes the importance of not giving in to false enticements and to maintain their unity, because that and that alone will lead them to survival and freedom.